U.S. institutions have been, as it were, hijacked to a particular ideology or a set of values. The United States institutions, particularly its embassies, but the government buildings everywhere, should represent the entire country.
Welcome to the Debrief here at the Washington Examiner. I'm Tiana Lowe Doescher, and I'm here with our editor-in-chief, Hugo Gurdon. Hugo, Donald Trump entered office for the second time with a flurry of executive orders, and while most of these, like getting rid of DEI and some border provisions, have gained most of the public's attention, there were a few more aesthetic, ceremonial, and symbolic executive orders that clearly are worth taking a look at. What are the most notable of those to you?
I thought one of the very notable ones was the one flag policy. All U.S. federal institutions abroad and in the United States were ordered to fly only the United States flag. In particular, that means not flying the rainbow flag or the trans flag, which a lot of U.S. institutions have been flying. My recollection is that even at the Vatican that they have flown this flag. And I think this is an exceptionally good thing that the Trump administration is doing, because what it's U.S. institutions have been, as it were, hijacked to a particular ideology or a set of values. The United States institutions, particularly its embassies, but the government buildings everywhere, should represent the entire country. They shouldn't represent one ideology or one party's ideology or one portion of the spectrum's ideology. And, you know, even at the White House, the trans flag was hung like a sort of triumphal banner. And there was an implicit aspect to this, which was, you know, if you enter the building, if you are there, you must accept this way of thinking. And so I think that most people, the majority of Americans, want the federal government to represent all of them and not a portion of them, and not to kind of, as it were, stick it in their face when they disagree with those things. So I think that's one important one.
And isn't the implicit message there that if the American flag does not stand for equality of all men, the fact that we are all created equally by God, that we don't have a state religion, that we are meant to be a free, equal people? The Supreme Court has officially ruled that you cannot discriminate against trans folks, gay folks, whatnot. Wouldn't that imply that the American flag is insufficient for equality?
Well, that's exactly what it does imply. The idea that there should be several flags, you know, and it's rather like several anthems. That there's the black anthem and the national anthem. Well, the national anthem belongs to black people, to Hispanic people, to white people. It's a unifying thing. As soon as you start diversifying the symbols, you divide the people. And so, you know, I think that the federal there was another executive order related to architecture of federal buildings, and it replicates, not quite exactly, but nearly an order that was in the first Trump administration, and that was to try and restore beauty and dignity to federal architecture. There are buildings out there where the federal government has paid the check and the architects have put up something which looks like a refrigerator or whatever.
The education department needs to be
the FBI building, hideous. Some of it's brutalist, some of it, and the thing about civic architecture, the built environment should reflect not just both in its aesthetics, also certain values. And you know, the classical architecture, which is mentioned, although it is not exclusively a style that President Trump has ordered, it has coherence, it has balance, various qualities that people want to see their government express. And so, you know, it's odd perhaps, or it may seem odd to a lot of people, that the federal government should concern itself with aesthetics, but aesthetics is connected to values and ideas. And, you know, I think that this is another very good order that has been put through.
And beyond the capital R romantic sensibility, we know Trump loves Baroque. We know that he clearly loves aesthetics. Beyond that, there are the values of why Washington and our founding fathers explicitly wanted that neoclassical architecture. Historically, doesn't it matter what that symbolized, harkening back to the Roman Republican one.
Right, yes, absolutely. It did harken back to the Roman Republic, and I mean, there are certain aspects of that. For example, the fasces, which was, obviously picked up in the first half of the 20th century and represented some things which was used to represent some things with ideas that we don't approve of. The point is not that that we should stick to one form of architecture, that there shouldn't be any influences from or advice from professional architects. But it is the case that generally when people have paid for a building and they want a building for a particular purpose, they have employed an architect and they tell the architect what they want. They don't say, I will tell you how this must be built, but here, broadly speaking, is what it should be. And the architects do that. And I think actually you get better buildings as a result. It has often been noted that creative people working under certain restraints, whether they be fine artists or sculptors, have actually produced much finer works and much more lasting, historically lasting works than those who have worked when there are no constraints and in an entirely open environment.
I think that's true of every writer in this newsroom, thanks to the guidance of our wonderful editors.
Oh, thank you.
So for one final question, I've seen a lot of criticism about why would Trump, if he's saying America is on the brink, national emergency at the border, why would he expend this energy to, for instance, rename Mount McKinley, which is the highest peak in North America, Mount Denali? Why would he do that? What's the counter-argument to that?
What he's done is restore it. The movement began in 1975 to turn Mount McKinley, rename it, or go back to the name that was originally given it by pre-Columbian people for, I don't know whether it's centuries or even thousands of years. The Denali simply means the big one or the tall one. But most Americans will have grown up in their geography lessons, and they would have, one of the things that they will remember for all of their lives, that the tallest mountain in the United States is Mount McKinley. The renaming of the mountain seems to me, anyway, to have been a deliberate expunging of the post-colonial and post-revolutionary history. It was done to honor one of the presidents. And we have all sorts of mountains we have all sorts of highways, buildings, etc., cities, universities named after presidents. I think that this is, as it were, a restoration of something which people like about their country.
And we all know Donald Trump loves William McKinley because he touted two of Trump's economic priorities: a strong U.S. dollar and tariffs.
Well, we don't agree on tariffs, but a strong U.S. dollar is a good thing.
Yes, and he really did kick it to William Jennings Bryan on that cross of gold. This has been The Debrief. Hugo, thank you so much for joining us. In the meantime, please check out the news from the rest of our writers and editors at washingtonexaminer.com.